I'm optimistic. It still depends on Mitch McConnell bringing a bill to the floor in the Senate, and it still depends on the President of the United States signing a bill. I think that the more you see things like this event, where if I'd done this 10 years ago, we wouldn't have gotten any Democratic candidates for president to come. Today, almost all the 20 are here. That they see the public has said enough is enough. And that's why we're here. And that's the impact is not just on the Democratic Party, which, remember, the Democrats were cowed by the NRA as well for a long time, although today, in all fairness, they're not. It's the time is to say, we just have to stop this.
You've said that when you launched this group, that just like the NRA, we need to make them afraid of us. That is going out there and challenging politicians who don't support this kind of platform.
What I did in the 2018 election was we supported 24 candidates for Congress. The criteria were they had to be good on guns and good on the environment.
You spent about $100 million.
Spent about $100 million, and 21 of the 24 won and replaced A-rated congresspeople from the NRA. NRA A-rated. The NRA takes no prisoners whatsoever, and they lost 21 seats in the House. Flipped the House. And so now's the time to start working and helping the Republicans to see the light, because I don't think this is a partisan issue.
So what does this mean for 2020? Are you going to go out there and fund candidates to challenge those who don't fund or vote for things like background checks or red flag laws?
It is very early, and the best thing would be that we have action in Congress on the Republican Senate side as well as the Democratic House side, so that you won't be able to ask that question because we'll already be where we want to be.
But is this a threat or warning from you?
There's no question that I think this is one of the real key issues in our country. We cannot have a society where you go out in the street and you can get blown away. It's just not tolerable. We just have to say enough is enough.
You've said that essentially the NRA model of taking people directly on if they are not supporting your platform should be replicated.
I think that should be.
If Mitch McConnell doesn't bring this to the floor in the fall, will you look at funding his opposition?
Mitch McConnell is up for re-election, and he's running against somebody who I'm told is an attractive candidate. Mitch McConnell is going to look and say, what does the public want as well? So I am optimistic that even Mitch will change his mind. I hope so.
Red flag laws, those were in place in Connecticut before Sandy Hook. They didn't stop that massacre.
No, but they stopped some things.
Background checks would not have stopped these two shooters from getting these guns, at least as currently written.
Okay, that is true. No one law is going to stop everything, but there's just no question when you put in background checks, suicides with guns, and murder rates go down. When you get rid of assault weapons, you stop the mass murders. These are not public health things. This is too much of an access to guns, and particularly to assault weapons, which were designed to kill the maximum number of people as quickly as possible and as gruesomely as you could possibly do it.
The NRA has been having some internal disputes and problems. They were the largest donor to President Trump in 2016. Will they be able to bankroll to the level they did in 2020? Do you see an opportunity?
I think the NRA has been very badly hurt by this. The NRA, 90% of NRA members are in favor of background checks. So the NRA is not in the place of most of its members. And in fact, if you go back, you can see Wayne LaPierre, who runs the NRA, testifying before Congress in favor of background checks 15 or 20 years ago.
We think it's reasonable to provide for instant gun checks at shows, just like at gun stores and pawn shops.
They've changed their views. They went away from background checks. The time is for them to come back. And if they want to be an organization representing gun owners, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But they should not be somebody representing the view that everybody has the right to go kill everybody.
Well, I want to ask you about some of the choices the candidates are making. Joe Biden has said the president encourages white supremacism. Bernie Sanders said the president's a racist. Elizabeth Warren said he's stirring up racial conflict. Beto O'Rourke said he is making the risk of violence like this in El Paso more real. Do you think that it's a mistake for Democrats to tie the president's rhetoric to these mass killings?
No, I think words matter. People look to their leadership for guidance, and to say that it doesn't have an effect is wrong. So what the president says is very important. And if he supports or says nice things about racists, it encourages racism. If he goes and says nice things about white supremacists, he encourages that kind of violence. He's just, I hope he understands this, he cannot go and just shoot off his mouth and say anything. He's the president of the United States.
You decided not to run for president. Is there anything that would make you reconsider?
No, I don't think so. I thought about it a little bit when I was driving into Des Moines today, thinking, you know, I came here and I spent a good chunk of a month meeting the people of this great state. And in some senses, I missed being on the campaign trail. I had 3 elections. I won them all. I know how to put together a team. I know how to put together a team not just to win elections. I know how to put together a team to actually deliver the services you promise. But I did that. And now it's time to do something else.
Can Democrats win if they bill themselves as progressives?
I think if you are very progressive, no. I think the public wants evolutionary change, not revolutionary change.
Do you think that Democrats need a new generation?
I think there's an awful lot to be said for experience and accomplishment. There's a value to having been there, done that, and to understand that if there were simple solutions to complex problems, we would have solved those problems. I'm not a believer that, oh, there's a new generation coming along and they own the right to set the agenda. I think you earn your spurs and you earn the right to set an agenda by showing people that what you've been doing is working.
You've business in China, and you know business people for decades have been complaining about China not playing fair.
That's correct.
President Trump's been really aggressive on this. You don't like the tactics, but is he doing what is needed on this front? And how do Democrats say that they're going to be stronger?
People that think Donald Trump is not reelectable are wrong. I think a lot of people look at exactly what he is doing with China, and they think he's at least taking on the Chinese, and they should be taken on, is their belief. Now, I would argue some of the things he says are right, that we really shouldn't have this asymmetrical trade relationship, but you don't do it by walking up and having public fights. You don't do it by changing your mind all the time. You don't do it by being a bully with tariffs. So it's the president's methods of trying to deal with China that I object to, not the fact that the Chinese have their interests, we have ours.
You think he may be reelected?
I hope not. I will, I'm sure, support somebody who's running against him in the end, but I think to anybody that thinks that he does not have support is badly misinterpreting what the public believes. There is a revolution that has been taking place around the world where the public thinks that the establishment has not recognized their needs. And you see that in Donald Trump getting elected, you see that in Brexit, you see that in a lot of things where we're doing things differently and the old line stuff is being thrown out. And that's not necessarily good.